Para sa'yo, which is more important, the racket or the string? Short answer, string. Also, I don't want to see this in my comment section. Like, he asked a perfectly good question, and you guys are misunderstanding what he's saying. You can't play badminton without a racket or a string. They're both important. He's just asking, what do I think is more important? So now that you know the answer, I'm going to kind of explain why I feel this way and why I think a lot of people will agree with me. So in most sports, but let's stick to badminton because that's what we're talking about here. The contact surface is very important. The interface. So what I mean by that is like any area that is touching another area is important. So the grip, because your hand is touching the racket, that's a very important area. The strings, the shuttle touching the racket, right? You're hitting with the strings, not the racket. It's a very important area. Your socks are very important. Your shoes are very important, right? And any slight differences in these areas will you will feel because every time you switch grips from forehand to backhand and use a shitty grip or use a loose grip, it's going to affect your timing, it's going to affect your swing, it's going to affect your power much more than a stiff racket or a high tension or whatever, right? Um, String. If you're using shitty string and you have an amazing racket like a 1000Z or something, you're going to notice your power is not coming out. You're going to notice you have no control, right? You're going to notice a lot of things like that. Socks, right? Socks are overlooked. Let's say you just got some 65 Z4s, right? Some brand new ones, but you're using super thin or super thick socks, and your feet are uncomfortable, right? You're not going to be able to move well. Let's say you have good socks, but let's say you're using like rolled balances or some really bad pair of shoes, right? Your feet are going to be comfortable, but if you're slipping all over the place, if there's no grip, or if they're too big, if they're too small, you are going to have a horrible time, right? So all of these areas where you are contacting something else, another plane, another material, these are very, very important things. All right, and point or exhibit number 2 is this is me talking with Lokin Heen, right? My friend and my coach, one of my coaches from Singapore, right? I can't anything about rackets, to be honest. We just received the racket and just used it for real. So for context, right, Lokinin has now retired from the Singapore national team, but he was sponsored by Leading for a long time. And this is a mentality not just him has, but a lot of pro players have. I mean, if you look at like the interviews that CKU has done with a bunch of the players and talking about their equipment, a lot of them are not really quite sure what racket they're using. They're like, talking to their partner, like, am I using this one? Am I using that one? Or they're like, is it the 3U one or the 4U one, right? It's all marketing, right? But they all know what tension they're using. And they all know for sure what string they're using. Why? Because it has a huge impact on how you can play. And I mean, you can try this for yourself. Like, I've done it for myself as well. Like, when I used to have 1000Zs, like 5 of them, and they hadn't all broken at that time. I did a video, like in Pampanga, where they were all different tensions, right? And the feel is dramatically different from the 22 one to the 28 one, right? And I've also done comparisons between like, like an Alp Sports with XL 65 and then like an 1000Z with like really shitty or really loose string. Like, I'll pick up the Alp Sports, dude. Like, it makes that much of a difference, right? Yeah, so back to this. There was no need for this. It was really stupid. Obviously, you need both, like I've said in the beginning. Good question. But yeah, I think strings are more important than rackets, and I think anyone that disagrees with me has not really tried, like, 2 good rackets, one with a bad string and one with a good string, or like a Nano Fusion 722 with really good string, and then like a 1000Z, but all you're able to afford after that because you spent so much money on the racket is like fake string. I would be using the Nano Fusion 722 every day, and I'll leave it at this, right? I think a lot of Filipinos here, they see the racket as they see the racket and string as a one-time thing, right? Meaning, a lot of you guys are using string until it breaks, and sometimes y'all don't break it for years, which is horrible, right? And you'll also see the same thing as rackets. Think about it like this. Let's say you buy a racket from like a mall or something, 17,000 pesos for like a top-of-the-line Yonex, or you bought an Apex Nano Fusion 722, or something else cheap from Shopee that's also good for like 1.5, 1K, and then you get it restrung every month using Expo 65, Expo 68, Air by Boost, right? Something that's like 500, 600, let's say 1,000 pesos, right? So 1K racket leaves you 16K, right? So you could get your racket restrung every month using top of the line string, right? So your string is always going to stay fresh, and you're going to have a much better experience. You're going to have more fun. You're going to be able to play your shots better compared to if you bought a 1000Z and then you have no money left over. So now you have to buy, fake string, or you have to use BG65, and you can't string it unless it breaks, right? So that's like what, every 6 months. I hope what I'm saying makes through or gets to y'all. I tried to explain this as clearly as I could, but yeah. Uh, Let me know what you guys think. Happy to discuss. See y'all in the comments.